Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Forvia Sustainability Day. Thank you for joining us this morning in Paris. We are very happy to have you here. My name is Asha Sampert. I'm going to be your host today. So today, Forvia and Hella will present together Forvia's net zero ambition. We're going to present the sustainability roadmap and the action plan. We'll discuss, of course, current as well as future challenges with the participation today of key guests. So we have business partners, experts, and special guests joining us. A day to learn, to discover, and to get inspired, hopefully. I hope you're excited about it. So let's take a look at today's program. So we will start by setting the course with a quick introduction with the CEO of Forvia, Patrick Koller, who will be joining us in a few minutes. This morning, we're going to have 3 panel discussions to explore Forvia's net zero ambition, its roadmap, and discover what are the different projects that are ongoing right now related to the scope 1, 2, and 3 with key partners and customers. At the end of these 3 panels, you will be able to interact with us, ask us any questions you may have. So I think there are hand mics in the room. You can ask your questions from the room, or also you can use the platform to ask the question digitally, if I'm not mistaken. So after the break, we have a session dedicated to advancing today's business and environmental challenges together. And Patrick will be here, of course, and we have 2 special guests who will be joining us. We'll have the pleasure to welcome Maud Fontenoy and Pascal Canfin. After lunch, a new panel. This time, then we'll talk about the next generation company with Loïc Bonifacio. He will be joining us later. He, as you know, he is from Pour un réveil écologique. And then you will have some time to discover what's going on here at the heart of the forum to explore Forvia through the lens of sustainability. So we have lots in store for you. You will see we have some conferences, roundtables, demos, meetups, and networking. You'll have time to chat with your peers who are here. The last part today dedicated to technology, mobility, and climate. 2 other guests, Marc Fontecave from Collège de France and Jean-Luc Moulet from CNRS, will be joining us later. And we top of the day with some concluding remarks with Patrick, the CEO of Forvia, followed, of course, by some networking. So that's it for the agenda. Enough said. So now it's my very great pleasure to welcome on stage the CEO of Forvia. Please welcome Patrick Koller.
Good morning.
Good morning, Patrick. How are you today?
I'm fine. I'm better than yesterday.
It was a good day, though, yesterday, yeah?
It was an interesting day, yes.
Fantastic. So I know this one also is an important day for you, Patrick. So probably give us a flavor of what to expect and why is this important for you?
So first of all, it's the first time that we do on Sustainability Day. It's the first time for Forvia, it's the first time for Hella, and of course for Forvia. And I think it's important. You know, I thought back, where is all this coming from? In France, we had a debate 3-4 years ago about the purpose. And the idea was to write the purpose and to put it, you know, in the status of the company. And in a moving world and with all the uncertainties, we thought at the time that it might not be a good idea. We were uncomfortable with this idea to, you know, write down something which will have to be sustained for many years. And we tried to find an alternative to this. And the alternative was to write down convictions. At that time, we spoke about 6 Forvia convictions. But when we worked together with Hella, we found out that in fact we have the same convictions, yeah? And that it's not an issue to share these convictions. Sometimes the wording was a little bit different, but only a few words. Mm-hmm. And one of these convictions was related to climate change. And in fact, we wrote that climate change is the challenge for humanity. And we believe that as a company, we have a responsibility and we can act. And what is very interesting is that these convictions are not, something the top management has written. It's something which is shared by the people and which counts for the people. And we see it with the initiatives which are taken in the different countries and how people are reacting to that. We also see it, how much it is important for people when we recruit. It's one of the first remarks people are doing. We are willing to join you because of this. And I think that this is fundamental.
Well, Patrick, you speak about Forvia, you speak about Forvia, about Helle, and now let's speak about Forvia. It was created less than a year ago, and I think it's important to talk about that. How did this accelerate your strategy?
When you look at the diversity we have and the number of countries, but also the processes, I think that it's important to consider it transversally. And again, it was not an issue. It was natural. In fact, we never had really to argue about this. It happened pretty automatically. But let us have a short view about what Forvia is. So Forvia is the 7th largest automobile supplier with an investment and willingness to change the mobility. And when you look at this table, you see that we are investing in the future. We are investing in the future with our gross R&D spend. We are investing in the future with the number of engineers we have, 15,000. More than 3,000 software engineers. We are working in many different sites, 42 countries, and we are developing per year more than 1,000 automotive programs. So I think that we are engaged in this new mobility, and of course this new mobility has to be sustainable.
Right, so we're here to talk about mobility, of course, but beyond figures, how is Forvia intending to transform mobility? Yesterday you spoke about, during the Capital Markets Day, you revealed the mission. So probably, could you give a flavor of...
Can we see the mission? Okay, so the mission is very simple. We pioneer technology for mobility experiences that matter to people. And I think that the last sentence is for me the most important one, that matter to people. You cannot dissociate the mobility changes from the social aspects and how people are valuing the different innovations you will offer. There's a price elasticity limit on the vehicles. And the vehicles will get penalized, at least for a while, related to electrification. We also have to consider, the automated driving, which is increasing from level 1 to level 3, and which will also impact the costs. We also see that through regulations, year after year, we increase the content. And this, has to be considered globally. We need to make sure that we offer affordable mobility. And I think that what we are doing here with the CO2 or with the climate change conditions and constraints, we have to take into account that what we are doing has to stay affordable. And I think that this is the challenge, but it's, from my point of view, also the opportunity. First of all, I believe it's feasible, and we see it in many very concrete cases we are developing today. Secondly, we have maybe to be a little bit closer to the consumers. When I see that in some vehicles you have several displays displaying the same information, I'm not sure that this is creating a lot of value for the customer. There are other devices which might be very important for the customers and which are not today offered, or at least offered for the right price. What I also believe is that the lifetime of the mobility has to be extended. With electric vehicles, which are very easy to maintain, there is no need to change the vehicle every 3 or every 5 years. And we might be able to upgrade the vehicles, not only from a software point of view, but also from a hardware point of view, in order to get adjusted permanently to the use cases of the consumers. And this will mean use longer and use better, and this is good for the planet.
Right, and I understand that this mission clearly is embedded into your sustainability approach.
Yes, because the way people want to achieve mobility, is including this sustainability and this concern about climate change, and they want to participate to that. But we also need to be very transparent to them, from well to will. We speak about electric vehicles, but if you produce electricity with coal, I'm not sure that this is the best way. So I think that this is maybe one of the topics we will have to discuss today. How are we making sure all together that this works really?
All right, and now, concretely speaking, I know you're working on various projects. Probably, you mentioned concrete action plans. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, so here you spoke, just before, you spoke about ESG, yeah? And ESG is more than sustainability. And I think the combination of the 3 letters makes a lot of sense. Yeah? So we have to work, of course, to protect the planet, but we have to work with people. Yeah? And I think that this is fundamental. The link is fundamental. We have to make sure that it works. The other thing, we are concentrated on CO2, but it's much more than that. And you have it here. You cannot, again, forget to care about water. You cannot discount the biodiversity. It's a full element you have to consider, and as such, globally. I'll give you an example about biodiversity. So, we tried to find an KPI for biodiversity, but you cannot consolidate it, because you are speaking about a lot of different animal species in different locations. So what we decided is to work with ONGs, with softwares which are today available and very precise, which are giving you detailed information about what are the risks around your different sites. So very, detailed locations. What we are doing then, we are asking our people on a voluntary basis to deal with that in the different plans, and we're enthusiastic about that. And then we are working in counting, of course, with methodologies we get from outside. We are counting and we are trying to improve the populations. And this is very concrete. And again, this allows us also not only, to repair or to participate to the biodiversity protection, but it allows also us to have the relationship with the local populations. Yeah? Sometimes even to make them aware and to have them participating to it. And I think that's very important. On this slide, you also have gender diversity, minorities. We have to be organized in such a way that we are comparable to the populations in which we are working, in which we are serving. So you have here 2 very important elements about women managers and professionals. In 2030, we want to have 35% of them. And in the top management, we would like to have 30% of women. It takes time, but we are on track. We are improving every year. By the way, this one is part of the variable compensation of our managers, including myself.
All right, so I can say since yesterday we've been hearing a lot. You have accomplished quite a lot. Now, what should we expect next?
What I'm expecting next is the roadmap. So to achieve the roadmap we have in front of us. The first one is 2025 with Scope 1 and Scope 2 neutrality. Then we have an intermediate step, which is 2030, where we have clearly targeted to reduce our CO2 on Scope 3 by minus 45%. And finally, in 2045, to achieve net zero. I'm saying it again, I said it yesterday, we are the first automotive company having received this qualification from SBTi of net zero. And this means something. It means that our teams have worked hard to define a convergence curve which is allowing us to achieve this target.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing, Patrick. We'll have time to discuss later. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Holder. Thank you.